Ladies and gentlemen, Morgan State University is very privileged and exceptionally honored this morning to have as our commencement speaker, one of the pioneers in the 20th and 21st century American politics and government, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi was born right here in Baltimore into one of the prominent political families of Maryland, the D'Alessandro family. Her father, Thomas D'Alessandro, served 5 terms in the U.S. Congress and 12 years as mayor of the city of Baltimore. Her brother, Thomas III, served as mayor of Baltimore for 4 years. She therefore became involved in politics at a very early age. She received her bachelor's degree in political science from Trinity College in Washington, D.C., and interned, along with now Congressman Steny Hoyer, in the office of Maryland Senator Daniel Brewster. After marrying, moving to California, and devoting her early years to her family, she gradually became involved in California politics, first as a volunteer and later as an officer in Democratic senatorial campaigns and the Democratic National Committee. After serving as Northern and State Chair of the California Democratic Party in 1987, she was elected as Congresswoman for the 5th Congressional District of California. There she began her 29-year tenure as Congresswoman. Congresswoman Pelosi's ascendancy in the Congress of the United States of America has been a steady one. After serving on the House Appropriations Committee and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence for a number of years, she was elected House Minority Whip in 2002 and House Minority Leader in 2003, therefore becoming the first female Democratic Party leader in congressional history. Well, in 2006, she made history again by becoming the first woman and the first citizen west of the Rocky Mountains to be elected Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. And it goes without saying that election to that position made Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi the most powerful woman in American politics. As Speaker of the House, she led some signature legislation. She led the passage of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. She led the Patients' Bill of Rights. She led the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. She's led a number of important pieces of legislation to rein in big banks and to protect consumers. She has led legislation to provide health care for 11 million children, legislation to help fight hate crimes, to repeal the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. She has led legislation to raise the ethics standards of Congress, to increase aid to college and university students, and to raise vehicle fuel efficiency standards for the first time in 32 years through the American Clean Energy and Security Act. I think you can say that Speaker Pelosi has been one busy leader. Now, after the Republican Party gained the majority of seats in the House of Representatives in 2010, Speaker Pelosi assumed the position of Minority Leader of the House. And in that position, which she serves today, she continues to fight for her constituents in California and for the citizens of the United States. She is still pushing unrelentingly for better paying jobs, for access to college education, for affordable health care for all, for cleaner and more efficient domestic energy sources, and of course, the fight against the HIV virus. She is clearly, in the words of President Barack Obama, quote, an extraordinary leader for the American people. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Morgan State University welcome to our commencement speaker this morning, the Minority Leader of the U.S. House of Representatives, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, President Wilson, for your very generous introduction. I told the President that I think his introduction was going to be longer than my speech, so take comfort in that. I thank you not only for your kind words, but also for your tremendous leadership, President Wilson, for your leadership, for your transformational leadership for education in our country. Aren't we proud of President Wilson? And thank you, Mr. President, that has a nice ring to it, doesn't it, for the immense honor to speak at the 140th spring commencement of Morgan State University. What a pleasure it is to be here with your chairman of the Board of Regents, a proud Morgan State alumnus and a former colleague in Congress, Kwesi Mfume. It's a privilege to be here in Baltimore with Morgan State's phenomenal representative in Congress, your trustee, a respected national leader, Congressman Elijah Cummings. And congratulations also to your senior class president, Brittany Bodie Palmer, and to all of you receiving degrees today. And by the way, that includes me, and it includes Kevin Lyles. So I am proud to be part of your class as I receive an honorary degree today, and to receive it again with Kevin. That's pretty exciting. And it's also exciting for me to be in your class. I hope it's good for you to know that you have a classmate in the capital of the United States. Today, this hall brims with pride and hope and celebration. As I begin, I want to recognize the families, the parents, spouses, siblings, partners, grandparents, children, and friends whose love and encouragement has helped make this joyous day a reality. Come on, graduates, let's salute all of your families. Let us also salute the faculty who did so much to make this day so important. To the graduates, this is your day, your success, your achievement. I'm honored to bring the congratulations of the Congress of the United States to Morgan State University's class of 2016. And I bring greetings on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus, which I'm proud to say is more than 50% women, people of color, and LGBT. And now with this honorary degree, we have an honorary degree from Morgan State in the House Democratic Caucus. And that caucus believes that when women succeed, America succeeds. And gentlemen, remember that equal pay for equal work, paid family leave, quality child care help men as well as women in our economy as we help families. This is for you as well. As has been mentioned so generously by President Wilson, I'm from Baltimore, so I am particularly excited to be with you today. As one born and raised in Baltimore who has always had a strong respect and appreciation for this great institution. This week, we observed the 62nd anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education, successfully argued by Baltimore's own, soon to be then the future Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall. When the decision was announced, my father, as was mentioned, Thomas D'Alessandro, was mayor of Baltimore. He went on TV. Now, this is 1954. This is very early TV, especially for a government official to appear, he went on TV to say, "This is the law of the land and will be respected and enforced in our city." And it was. Baltimore was an example to the country. Brown versus the Board has been called the touchstone of the idea of public education as the great equalizer. Today, as we celebrate our graduate success, we know that there's still an education gap in our country that must be closed if we are going to close the opportunity gap in our country, and we must. For almost 150 years now, Morgan State has been doing just that. Morgan State has not only been a place of academic excellence and learning, it has been a pillar of moral courage, strength, and wisdom. You are part of a great legacy of leadership. Here, in 1953, students planned some of the first civil rights lunch counter sit-ins anywhere in the nation. Even before the official sit-in movement began, here in 1958, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at Morgan State's commencement. His address, it was an address that resounds with those unforgettable ideas that would become the "I Have a Dream" speech years later. The year after Dr. King spoke at Morgan State, he traveled to India to deepen his understanding of the philosophy of nonviolence of Mahatma Gandhi and the principle of satyagraha. I tell you of that word because satyagraha is a word, a Sanskrit word, which translated has two meanings: nonviolence and insistence on the truth. Nonviolence and insistence on the truth. And it isn't that exactly what Morgan State students did in the sit-ins of 1953. Just as in that time, America is once again in a national conversation about what injustices we are no longer willing to accept. Americans are turning fresh eyes to familiar wrongs which must be ended. Whether it is unfairness in education, in the justice system, and in our economy, young people are calling out how the inequality of the status quo denies you fairness and opportunity. And denying you that denies America that. Simply and courageously insisting on the truth is opening a chance for transformational progress in our society. So, graduates, draw on the strength of the education you have received here at Morgan State and insist on the truth of your right to opportunity, to everyone's right to opportunity. Insist on the truth that Black lives matter. Insist on the truth that Black votes matter. Insist on the truth that we must make good on the full promise of our democracy. Insisting on the truth is disruptive, it is difficult, but it is absolutely necessary to the fight for justice and equality. You know, Dr. King's "I Had a Dream" speech is a gift that keeps on giving to us. Every time you read it, you find another wonderful part of it. The "I have a dream" part everyone knows. The fierce urgency of now has become part of our discussion in our country. But I like what he says after that. After he talks about the fierce urgency of now, Dr. King continues by warning of the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Heed those words. Do not let gradualism diminish your determination to achieve change in our society and in your lives. Never lose sight of your dream for what America can become and what that means to you. My wish for you today is for you to know your power to make history, to make change, to be transformative. Wherever you imagine your life heading, do not underestimate your power to do something unexpected and extraordinary. Dr. Wilson talked about my being raised in Baltimore, my family's history of civic duty. Even though I was raised in a political family, I never dreamed that I would run for office. My mother's plan for me was that I would be a nun. And Kevin, for me, dancing to Elvis records was my greatest passion. Now it'd be Milli Vanilli or something. But just to go back, when I was in first grade, my father was elected mayor of Baltimore. When I went away to college, 12 years later, for that whole freshman year, he was still the mayor of Baltimore. So I was raised in that atmosphere. And later my brother, as was mentioned, Thomas D'Alessandro III, became the mayor of Baltimore too. And by the way, my brother Tommy has always been proud of his honorary degree from Morgan State. So this is becoming a family tradition for us. Right, Marty? Marty Resnick knows that. In our family, we were taught that public service was a noble calling, a calling to foster in ourselves and a calling to be respected in others. All the same, I never thought elective office was for me. A year after I graduated from college, I got married. My husband Paul's from San Francisco, born and raised. We had 5 children, and we spent the next 20 years raising them. When I had the opportunity to run for Congress, the unexpected opportunity to run for Congress, more people want to get in. More people want to get in. Isn't that wonderful? So when I had this opportunity to run for Congress, 4 of my 5 children were in college already. They were very close in age. And I had one that was a senior in high school. I went to her, I said, Alexandra, Mommy has a chance to run for Congress. I don't know if I'll win, but I want to know what you think. I can stay here with you because you have 1 more year at home, or I could run for Congress. To which she said, Mother, and I knew I was in trouble right then and there, Mother, get a life. And so I got another life and went off to Congress. And she then said, Mother, what teenager would not want her mother gone 3 nights a week? I never thought that I would go from the kitchen to the Congress, that I would go from homemaker to House Speaker, but that's what I did. A few years after I went to Congress, when I was running for a leadership position, which had been held by men for centuries, at least 2 centuries, some men asked, who said she could run? Sisters, you know what that does, right? Yeah. Who said she could run? That's when I knew I had to. That's when I knew I had to break not only the glass ceiling, but the marble ceiling of the Capitol. I hope some of you will consider running for elective office yourself or help others to do so. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is urgent for our country to have your vision, your values, and your talent come to the fore. Graduates, you are the heirs to Morgan State's historic legacy of leadership. You stand on the shoulders of generations of students and activists who advanced your rights and expanded your opportunities, including the class of 1966, who we're honoring today. Imagine when they were in college, they saw the passage of the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, Medicare, all of those things. Graduates, during your time at Morgan State, our nation has marked 50th anniversary of those decisions, the landmark decision, Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act. You also saw the Supreme Court gut the Voting Rights Act that guards our democracy. We must insist on the truth that the Voting Rights Act be restored, because it is our patriotic duty to remove obstacles to voting. We must pass the Voting Rights Act and overturn Citizens United. Our founders had fought for a democracy, a government of the many, not a government of the money. You are on the front lines of this fight. Your involvement in getting registered and registering others and turning out the vote will make the difference. In the final year of President Barack Obama's historic presidency, you are graduating into a new and momentous time in American democracy, made so by President Obama's great leadership. And aren't we proud of our President Obama? And aren't we proud of our first family of the United States? Now your leadership is indispensable in the fight for justice and equality. Morgan State University, class of 2016, your diplomas, as Regent Chairman Mfumi said, are not simply a recognition of completed coursework. They are the fruits of your faith in yourselves, testimony to your commitment to build a better future for yourselves, your families, and our communities. With these degrees, you will have both the opportunity and the responsibility to lead and to give other people hope, as our president has given the world hope. So my message to the graduates of the class of 2016, as you go forward, insist on the truth. Believe in the bigger vision and know your power and use it. Congratulations to you, to your families, and to the great Morgan State University. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much.